Hello and welcome to another video where we are doing NCAA Basketball Imperialism. As you can see, we have a few changes from our last video, and I hope that we can see more here. This is going to be a long process with over 300 teams. We were able to do the first, I think, 16 matchups last time. If you haven't gone and seen that video, please then go and look at part 1. This is now part 2 of our NCAA Imperialism. A few changes that you'll see here is that you see Utah. The Utah Utes gained some land here. Same with the Broncos, Gonzaga. Wyoming gained a fair bit of land over the last little while, and then some other ones got a small amount of land. South Alabama, I think Stetson picked up a little bit, Kentucky. But we're going to continue going here. We're going to take this one step at a time, and eventually we're going to start narrowing down this giant map and eventually get down to one college basketball team that rules it all. So let's take a look at our next matchup here. Let's see what we have here. And again, trying to narrow down what we have. We're going to Army. And seeing which direction Army is going to move in. It looks like the northeast. Let's see where that takes us. As we see here, looking at where Army is positioned, if I go northeast, it's kind of tough to see, okay, would I go over into Connecticut or would I stay in the state of New York? And I think we're going to have to go against the Marist Foxes here. I think Red Foxes, I believe is what their name is. So let's see how that matchup plays out. And it looks like it was a close one throughout, but Marist does end up taking it. Not by much, but enough where then it's a 4-point lead, and Marist comes out on top. There are many parts of this where Army was leading this matchup, but Marist ends up taking a lead late in the game and eventually taking home the victory by 4 points. And just like that, we see Marist pick up a little bit more land and see them take a fair bit of upstate New York. So back to the wheel again. Let's see what we get next. And let's see who we have here. So, the UMBC Retrievers, who are famous for the biggest upset in NCAA tournament history. They're also going to take a northeast direction. And you'll see I had to make a few edits to fit all the teams that are in the Baltimore-Washington region here, but UMBC going northeast faces against the Towson Tigers. So let's see what that matchup brings us. And this was not how I anticipated it. Towson Tigers of the Colonial Athletic Association destroy the UMBC and their hopes of making a big run in this little format here. 80-58. Wasn't even close. Towson was leading the entire time, and that benefit is to them. And just like that, Towson takes a little bit of a bigger piece of Maryland here, and kind of pushes their way into some of the bigger teams in the metropolitan area. So Towson getting a good start to this imperialism. And back again at the wheel again, and let's see what we can do here. We've got the UIC Flames going to Chicago. And seeing that UIC is going to go in a southeast direction. And the UIC Flames are going to then face against DePaul. Again, I had to make edits in here in the Chicago area to make sure to fit all the teams in this area. But UIC is going to take on the DePaul Blue Demons from the Big East. And as expected, the Big East team beating UIC by a handily 20-point lead. Okay, there wasn't really any doubt in that, and so DePaul is going to be able to expand their territory. And just like that, DePaul takes a bigger part of Chicago, and it almost doubles their land that they've had in this area. So keep up the good work, DePaul. And the wheel again, let's see where we're headed. We've had a lot of teams on the East Coast or Midwest. But it looks like we're going a little bit further west and picking up the Texas Longhorns. And let's see where they want to expand to. Looks like they're going straight north, which they have a lot of different neighbors here, but if I'm going straight north from where their logo is, that is against Baylor. This is going to be a huge matchup with one of these teams going home a lot earlier than what we would anticipate. And looks like I overestimated Baylor. Maybe they're not having a great year this year, but Texas blew them out of the water. As an away team, to blow someone out of the water by that much is pretty impressive. So Texas getting a good piece of land and dominating and telling everyone why, right? The state is called Texas. And just like that, Texas has a pretty big piece of land acquisition that they just got there, basically doubling their land and putting a presence in the middle of the state of Texas. And we're back at the circle here. Let's see what we can get from this. We're gonna go to West Virginia. Lots of places that we could go from there, but they're deciding to go southeast, which means for West Virginia, they're going to take more West Virginia if they can take on the James Madison Dukes. And in the end, that was a non-contest as Virginia kept increasing their lead and got up to a 30-point lead by the end of it. And just like that, West Virginia gets a pretty decent chunk of land, expanding their land in West Virginia and getting a decent chunk into the state of Virginia as well, almost doubling their land. But we keep going back to the wheel. Let's see who we get. We've got a lot of East Coast teams, and it looks like we're staying there, going to the state of New York in Syracuse, as they are going to travel northeast, which there are not a lot of options north, but northeast means that they are going to take on the Vermont Catamounts. And even though the Vermont Catamounts can sometimes be a strong team in the NCAA tournament, causing some upsets, Syracuse did well to maintain the lead throughout the game, eventually won by a 10-point margin. And as you can see now, Syracuse has a big part of northern New York, and that Syracuse orange even bleeds into a good portion of Vermont as well. So we've had a lot of changes in kind of the northeastern part of the country. Let's see where we're going next. We're going all the way west to Hawaii. Now this will be a little bit different because Hawaii, of course, is very far west. I've placed them here for now, but when we do the arrow spin, I'm basically going to state that anywhere along the coast of California is fair game, unless it really points up like as far north as possible. And we're going to use this west coast here to gauge the difference here. If the arrow ends up pointing west in any way, we'll just spin it again until we get some sort of north or south or kind of westerly direction that we have going on here. And let's see what we get here. So our first spin is northeast, so we're going to just spin again, or northwest, we're going to spin again. And that's a little bit to the west still, so I'm going to wait until, okay, we're about kind of upward middle on the southeast side, which again, like it's morely directly west, so I'm not going to say it's as south as over here, but it's not necessarily north as in Oregon. So I'm going to then come in and I'm going to have them face Cal Poly, I think it's Cal Polytechnic here. I think we're going to have those two face off to see if Hawaii gets on the continent here. And Hawaii does get the win over the Cal Poly Mustangs, pretty decisively so after about the end of the half, where Hawaii took a lead and never gave it up. So here we are with Hawaii on the continental US, and we're going to now make the rule here that now that they've landed here, this is then the borders that we're going to use to determine where they're attacking from, who's attacking them. We won't, if these guys end up going west, we're going to use this piece of continental U.S. to define where Hawaii is going to be during this series. So that was a nice trip out west. Are we going to stay out there, or are we heading back? As we are then going to look at Howard, going back into, I believe that's Washington, D.C. So going back to this area, as we saw Towson beat UMBC, we've got Howard in here. Let's see where they're going to attack. Looks like they're going to end up going in a southeast direction, which means from their location going southeast is going to put them up against the Navy midshipmen. And even though it was really close back and forth throughout the game, looks like Navy had the upper hand for most of it and was able to squeak out a 3-point victory. And even though Army got knocked out early in the day, Navy has stayed alive for another round and gained a little bit of land out of it too. And so another East Coast matchup was what we had there, and looks like we're going out west. And not just out west, but to Stephen F. Austin and going south from there. And for SFA here, this is not going to be the first time they've been in a battle. They beat SMU, and now they're going down to, I believe this is Sam Houston State, if I am correct about that. So they're going to get a chance to expand even further into the state. And I better give better credibility to Sam Houston State, as they have now just taken down Stephen F. Austin, and they're going to get a fair bit of land out of this. Looks like it was a back and forth game, but it does look like Sam Houston, in the second half of it, never ended up giving up their lead. Eventually won by a comfortable 9 points in the end. And just like that, Sam Houston State has made a statement and taking a huge chunk of land, again becoming one of the primary pieces that you see in the state of Texas. And we were down in Texas a couple times. Is there a repeat state that we're going to go to? No, but I think this is our first time heading to the state of Colorado, as Northern Colorado is going to make their first extension and trying to go to the northwest. And Northern Colorado is going to be taking on one of probably the biggest players in regards to landmass, as they're going to take on the Wyoming Cowboys. And unfortunately for Northern Colorado, this was not a contest, as Wyoming blows them out of the water. And just like that, Wyoming has, I think, is the first team to win 2 matchups at this point, extending further into Northern Colorado, extending further into Nebraska, and has even got a little bit of land into Kansas as well. Wyoming has certainly been one of the biggest growers in regards to land mass during this video so far. And just like that, we keep on rolling and see who gets a chance to expand next. It looks like we're going to the Wagner Seahawks, and we will see what direction they want to expand in, and they're going into the southwest. And this area is probably the most difficult area to see here. I had to make a fair bit of edits to fit all the teams that fit around here, but Wagner Seahawks are in the green right here, and going southwest is going to expand them and place them against Rutgers. And unfortunately for Wagner, this was a non-contest, which Rutgers beat easily and never trailed during the whole entire game. So Rutgers gets a chance to expand. And even though we don't get that much land out of this, it's still a distinction that Rutgers is still on the map, and unfortunately for Wagner, Wagner is not. And once again, we take a spin, see who gets a chance to make some moves, and it's going to be the Gardner-Webb Running Bulldogs. And that'll take us into Carolina to see them try to expand further to the northeast. And with Gardner-Webb right here, close to the South Carolina border, going northeast would take them against the Davidson Wildcats, a tough matchup. And even though that was a tough matchup, it still ended up being only a 4-point game. Davidson did lead the entire game, but Gardner-Webb did well to try to keep it close until the end. And like that, Davidson gets a bigger piece of North Carolina, and even gets a little bit of land dripping into South Carolina as well. And we keep going. See where we're going to be taken to. And it looks like the St. Francis Red Flash, which gives us a trip into Pennsylvania, where they're going to try to expand directly south of them. Which, if we look where the Flash are positioned, directly south actually leads into West Virginia territory. So a chance for West Virginia to expand even further, or maybe St. Francis has a chance for an upset. And it is West Virginia that does come out on top. The game was actually close for most of the first half, but West Virginia was able to pull away and eventually get a pretty decisive win in the end. And just like that, West Virginia also gains some more land and really puts a statement on the rest of the East Coast of kind of how to get it done and how to really expand quickly. And we look to go again to see if we're sticking to the East Coast or if we're going somewhere else. It looks like we're going East Coast, staying with the Loyola Greyhounds. And seeing Loyola, again going back to the Washington area and going north from there, which is a tough decision, but I think Loyola going north from there is going to take them against Coppin State University. And I do hope that I'm pronouncing that right, because Coppin State ends up getting the win over Loyola. It's a close game throughout, but as you see, Coppin State ended up continuing their lead into the second half and never gave it up, winning by a total of 8 points. And just like that, even though Coppin State is a very small starting area, well, they take over a little piece here and give themselves some breathing room and potentially could expand further if they play as well as they did that time. So once again back at the wheel, trying to run these through as quickly as I can. And looks like we go back to New York to see the St. Peter's Peacocks. Again, trying to whittle away some of the teams from the New York area. They're going to then travel easterly, a little bit south, but mostly east. And I know it's difficult to see here, but the St. Peter's Peacocks are right here. And east with a little bit of south, I think, takes us against St. Francis Brooklyn Terriers, just across the onto Long Island here. And it is St. Francis Terriers that end up getting the win. They actually never were behind in this game, took a astounding lead, and then kept that lead throughout the whole time, winning by over 20 points. That is astounding. And I know that choosing red clashes with the people around here, especially with Rutgers here, but in this case, I think red's the best choice instead of white, because I'm going to have some clashing going on over here too. So again, being able to expand a little bit more into New York for the Terriers. So lots of little places trying to pick up some extra land. Are we going to see that continue, or we're going to see the Virginia Cavaliers try to pick up some more land? Virginia has already won a matchup against the Richmond Spiders, and now are going to go mostly north, but a little bit to the west as well. And based on where their initial logo is, that's going to put them against the Juggernauts of West Virginia. What a big matchup this is. This could be huge for both teams to get a foothold in this area. And it is West Virginia that, without giving up a lead at all, defeats the Virginia Cavaliers handily and it's the first team to actually win 3 of these battles. And with that gain for West Virginia may be one of the largest land masses on the eastern coast at this point, with all the gains that they had in Pennsylvania and Virginia this video. And just like that, that's going to be the end of our video today. Again, lots of expansion, some of them pretty small, which is hard to see when we're expanded out here, but some teams like Wyoming expanding, Texas and Sam Houston State expanding down here, but really West Virginia doing all that work has been huge to make them a pretty noticeable piece now on the entire map. So thank you for watching. Please stick around. I do hope to continue to making this and finishing off this series, so please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.